Good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Andrew Wilson here with our weekly weather update. But of course, for today, we have a lot to talk about, especially with what's going on in the tropics. It is now typically what is more the active time of the season. Those last 2 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September, typically the more active time of the Atlantic hurricane season, and we are tracking a system right now that's out there towards the western tip of Cuba. This is Tropical Storm Idalia. This system is expected to make its way off towards the western portion of Florida and then eventually into the Big Bend of Florida, and yes, could even impact us here in North Georgia. We're going to have a full update on this system coming up in just moments, but quickly I want to talk a little bit about what we're seeing outside right now. You're seeing a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity outside. This is not associated with Idalia, but we are going to have some showers and storms this afternoon. One or two of these storms could be strong to severe. Damaging wind would be the main threat. Marginal risk for severe weather, something we're going to keep a close eye on. Okay. Now a wider look at the southeast, you see a lot of activity down there, and now let's get back into the tropics. Just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of what we had going on today. We have Franklin that's over towards the western portion of the Atlantic. This is going to be making its way off to the north and east, is staying away from us, and then we have Idalia that is located again off towards the western tip of Cuba. Again, a little bit of a pointer on the screen. That way you all can see what I'm talking about. This is Franklin, and over here is Idalia. So let's first of all take a look at what the hurricane hunters are working on right now. The Air Force Reserve hurricane hunters fly into these storms to help gather data where there's an area where we typically can't have as much of it, and that data is then put into hurricane forecast models that allows us to figure out where these storms could go. It helps us perfect the forecast as much as possible. When you look at that forecast cone, the data that they're gathering helps us figure out what these storms are doing and where they could be going. So the Air Force Reserve hurricane hunters were just in the storm. They are now flying back to their home base of Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, and you can see that they have found that this storm is still fairly strong. They found 70-mile-per-hour winds here within this storm. It says 77 there, but that's just flight level wind speed. That's not taking into account what the ground or closer to the ground airspeed is. So it lets you know very strong winds. They fly that alpha pattern back and forth to gather the data, and now they're flying back again towards Keesler Air Force Base. So we are keeping a close eye on Idalia, and we're also keeping an eye on Franklin. Quick update on Franklin. This is still a strong hurricane with 145-mile-per-hour winds. Just to put your mind at ease, make things a little bit more comfortable there for you. Franklin is not going to be impacting us here in the United States. It's going to stay offshore and move off to the northeast. But again, Idalia could be impacting us. So back to Idalia, you see that it has 70-mile-per-hour winds as of the 2 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Gusts up to 75 miles per hour, moving north at 8 miles per hour. So it's just a few mile per hour speed of a wind speed off from becoming a hurricane. It's expected to become a hurricane as we head throughout this afternoon. The latest forecast showing that by the time we get to about 8 p.m. tonight, becoming a hurricane as it moves across the western tip of Cuba, up the western portions of Florida, the Florida Peninsula, and then making its way towards the Big Bend of Florida. By the time it gets to the Big Bend of Florida, we could be talking about a major Category 3 hurricane, making landfall anywhere from maybe portions of Clearwater down towards Tampa, all the way over to the eastern portion of Apalachicola, closer on towards St. George Island, St. Marks. That's all within the Florida Panhandle right there. And then again, some towns that are located within that. You have Cedar Key, Florida, within the cone right there where landfall could be. You have Crystal River. That's a very common place where people go to swim with the manatees. A lot of historic springs through there. Moving again up through the Ocala, Florida area, up across Jacksonville, and then eventually into southern portions of Georgia. So we do have the very southern counties of Georgia under a tropical storm and hurricane watch, something that we're going to keep a close eye on as the system again continues to make its way off towards the northeast. Now I want you to notice where we're located here. Atlanta, well off to the northwest of where the cone goes through. We are expecting very minimal impacts here. I mean, we're not expecting really much in the way of stronger winds. It will be a little bit breezy at times. We're going to have a little bit of rainfall here and there, but that's about it. The system mainly going to impact communities down to our south and east and into southeast Georgia along the coastal plains. The spaghetti models all in pretty good agreement here that this system again is going to be passing down to our south and east. You're going to see one model here. This is the CLP5, what you're seeing here. This is actually taking into account just climate data. So this isn't necessarily thinking about all the different weather situations that we have going out there right now with the atmosphere. This one really takes more into account what the climate is says for what a system would typically do this time of year with the current setup. So don't pay too much attention to that one. That one, again, just kind of there for research purposes and keep a close eye on. But anyway, we're expecting this again to stay down to our southeast. We also do have a medium chance for tropical development off the coast of Africa, but that is not really a threat to us right now. So that's all that's out there in the Atlantic at the moment. How is Idalia going to impact Georgia, and how close is it going to get to us? Forecast track shows that. Now, first of all, we're going to get through today. This is just random shower and thunderstorm activity. This is not going to be anything associated with Idalia as we head throughout this afternoon. Again, a storm or two could be strong to severe. Damaging wind would be the main threat. We're talking about a marginal risk for severe weather. Those storms move through this afternoon. We get quiet again for tonight, and then tomorrow morning we start off with temperatures in the 70s, rising into the 80s again for the afternoon with scattered showers and storms possible. By Wednesday, this is 7 a.m. Wednesday, let's look down to our south. Here's what will likely be, by this point, Hurricane Idalia making landfall again somewhere near Cedar Key, Florida. This is going to make its way off to the north and east, and again staying just to our south. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here and kind of show the path here. We get to about 1:30 p.m. again impacting the coastal plains of Georgia and down towards portions of Florida, and we could get a little bit of rain from this system up towards Edenton. Could be a little bit breezy, but we're not really talking about anything in the way of really strong, dangerous winds down towards Edenton. We're going to be on the weaker side of this storm. I know a lot of people talk about tornadoes, how they can sometimes be possible with tropical systems. That's really for the northeast quadrant. So we're going to be on the northwest quadrant and the southwest side, and we're going to be on what's typically the weaker side of the storm. And I think that not only is it more typical, but it's also going to be more likely with this system as well that we're going to be on the weaker side of it, and we're really not going to have much of an impact here in North Georgia. But again, down towards the coastline, if you have any friends or family down there, make sure you're calling them, telling them to keep a close eye on the forecast, listening to emergency managers in the area in case there's any precautions that need to be taken place. Also, tell them to go ahead and stock up. Stock up their fridge with water. Water's a big thing. You want to make sure you have plenty of clean water, and also you want to make sure you have plenty of food. I grew up in Mississippi, and we dealt with Katrina. I grew up in more inland Mississippi, but we still had power outages for a long period of time. You don't want to be without water. Make sure that if you have any friends or family down there, that they have water. Again, this is for those down towards the coast, not North Georgia. I'm talking about your friends and family down there. But they want to make sure that they're ready for this system as it makes landfall and then moves across, because again, it's not just the storm as it's impacting you. You got to remember that after the storm's already gone, you may be without water for a little bit. You may be without power for a little bit. You want to make sure that you're prepared for that timeline post Idalia. So keeping an eye on the coast there. We're going to keep a close eye on all that as the system passes through. We get to the overnight hours Wednesday night into Thursday morning. This system's away from us. This is 12:30 a.m. and you notice that it's nice and quiet excuse me, here in North Georgia. And the system will continue to push its way across the Carolinas and away from us. So we're going to keep a close eye on all that, and of course keep you updated all the way throughout these next few days here as Idalia gets closer and then moves across portions of South Georgia. There are some areas in southern Georgia that are under a tropical storm watch and a hurricane watch. Notice that's going to be all the counties that kind of border portions of the Florida Panhandle and over towards the northeast portion of Florida. This is really stretching from the Thomasville area of Georgia. If you know where that is, that's right north of Tallahassee, stretching across Valdosta and then all the way over to the coastline closer on towards Brunswick, Georgia. So that's going to be the areas that are kind of at more of a threat for some of those stronger winds that could be associated with this system. Of course, this is the time of year where we typically have a little bit more activity in the tropics. I mentioned it earlier. The last 2 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September, that's when some of the most historic hurricanes and tropical systems have hit the Gulf Coast. Hopefully this one doesn't end up being a historic one, but it is going to be the more active time of year where we typically have tropical systems making landfall here in the United States. Again, last 2 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September, September 10th, the climatological peak of the season. The season doesn't end until November 30th, and something we're going to have to continue to watch as we hit throughout the next couple of months here. Idalia is just the latest name on the list. Jose would be the next name. You notice that we still have a lot of the list to go, so we haven't had too many names picked up on the list just yet. But of course, again, all the way until November 30th for hurricane season. So we have a 70% chance for rain Tuesday. That is not associated with Idalia. We also have a 50% chance for rain on Wednesday. Some of those showers will be associated with Idalia as it makes its way across southern portions of Georgia. And then a 20% chance of lingering showers Thursday. It is going to be pretty good on the rainfall here as we head throughout the next week, anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches of rain down towards the coastal plains of Georgia near Savannah, Brunswick, over towards Valdosta, where they're going to have the direct impacts from Idalia. You're going to see that some spots could pick up even 4 or 5 inches of rainfall, so they're going to get a ton of rain down their way, and flooding could be a concern for them. Now, something that we're going to get here in North Georgia, I told you that Idalia wasn't going to have too much of a serious impact on us, but it is going to have an impact on the way that we get a little bit cooler here for Wednesday and Thursday. Because we're on the western side of the storm, we're going to actually get some more northerly winds in here, and it's actually going to bring us a little bit of a cool down. Look at the high there on Thursday, 80 degrees. That's going to be really nice compared to where we were at here just the past week, 2 weeks ago, and even over the weekend. We had those really hot conditions. It's going to be nice to have a little bit of a cool down there. Here's your 7-day forecast showing us that we are going to have 80 for the high there Thursday, but we are not going to be cooler for too long. Notice that we head into Friday, 86 for the high. Chester was in this morning. He chose that as his pick of the week. And then Saturday and Sunday back into the upper 80s and lower 90s for highs, just above average for this time of year. So again, a lot to track here as we keep a close eye on Idalia. We do have Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb in the house right now. He is right now talking to managers. They're working out a plan on how we're going to cover the system and keep a close eye on it. Also, in case we need to help any of our sister stations down towards Florida. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on this. Be sure to stay with 11 Alive. We have our newscast starting at 5 today, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then again on the ATL. We're going to be on at 7, and then we're going to be on all the way through 11 o'clock there on the ATL, and then at 11, you're going to be able to catch the newscast back on WXIA, 11 Alive, NBC here, to keep you updated on what the storm is doing, the latest forecast, all that right from Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb. So I'm going to continue to watch some things here behind the scenes, get caught up with Chris here in just a moment myself. Meteorologist Nicole Hartford is also in the house. She's going to be checking on a few things and keeping some stuff updated as well on the web, and then also is going to be on at 7 to keep you updated on the ATL. So I'm meteorologist Andrew Wilson. I hope you can all have a wonderful day. We're going to keep a close eye on Idalia, and I'm going to leave you with the current forecast track that came out at 2 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center. Don't forget, we're on 11alive.com, 11 Alive itself, the ATL, and then also download that 11 Alive app for those updates whenever you're on the go.